Hey, Frank.
I'd like to call to order the Mayor and Town Council meeting Tuesday, February 10th, 2026, Brewster County Government Center Boardroom 1102. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. If you take a look at your agenda, we have number 3, proclamation, February 2026 as Black History Month. And I would like Mr. Maurice Ames to come forward. He's the president of Snow Hill Rotary to accept this proclamation. And at this time, would council also come up with me? So glad you're here. Good to see you. Okay. Proclamation proclaiming February 2026 as Black History Month in the town of Snow Hill. Whereas February is nationally recognized as Black History Month and is an important and essential occasion to highlight and reinforce learning and recognize the important contributions of African Americans to our history and culture. And whereas February 2026 marks 100 years of official recognition of the countless contributions to our society and character of our nation by our African American population, even reaching back before they were citizens, leading to this year's theme of a century of Black history commemoration, emphasizing the importance of accurate and inclusive storytelling, especially in the context of our country's approaching 250th anniversary of independence. And whereas the town of Snow Hill wishes to celebrate Black history and encourage a continuing open dialogue and awareness of Black history as an ingrained component of the American community, remembering with respect and gratitude the achievements, resilience, and contributions of African Americans across all sectors of American life. Whereas the town of Snow Hill wishes to maintain and enhance a climate of diversity and inclusion throughout our community, respectful of all races and never forgetting the ongoing struggle against systematic impurities and the importance of preserving historical truth. Now, therefore, I, Janet T. Simpson, Mayor of Snow Hill, in unity with Snow Hill Town Council, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month in Snow Hill, and we call upon all citizens of Snow Hill to embrace the historic contributions and sacrifices made on the behalf of our community by our African American neighbors. Proclaim this 10th day of February in the year 2026, attested by Rick Pollock and Janet T. Simpson, Mayor. So I was wondering. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, pictures do this. This is better. Okay, all right. Okay, get closer.
One more.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go. Oh, don't see it. And we do a spot. Okay, we're gonna do spotlight too. All right, the next number 4 is Citizen Spotlight, the Jesse Clump Suicide Awareness and Prevention Program. Kim Clump.
Can I bring my board members?
Yes, you can bring anybody, yes.
Bring them all.
You want to introduce them, Kim? I can, if you don't mind.
This is Tiffany Barry. She is the vice president.
Okay.
Ron Pillane, co-founder and
Where's
correspondent secretary. And Ed Tudor is our treasurer.
You want to get on this?
No, boy.
You're fine? Okay.
I think everybody knows.
Yes, I love your red. All right, this is Citizen Spotlight. This is a certificate of commendation presented to Jesse's Paddle, the Jesse Clump Suicide Awareness and Prevention Program. You see what's in the back? Okay. The Jesse Clump Suicide Awareness and Prevention Program, whereas in early 2009, the sudden and tragic death of the popular and talented high school student Jesse Clump shocked the entire community of Snow Hill and touched the hearts and consciousness of every family in town. Reminding all of the fragile nature of life itself. Whereas, led by Jesse's mom, Kim Clump, the Jesse Clump Suicide Awareness and Prevention Program was organized as a means of reaching out to vulnerable young people to give them support and resources to draw from to help cope with the many harsh challenges of growing up. And whereas Jesse's Paddle was established as an annual fundraiser to raise money to devote to suicide awareness and prevention through community support groups, school-based educational programs, and a therapeutic summer camp to help youth manage their emotions and learn valuable social skills, with the 2026 event scheduled for Saturday, September 19th from 4 to 7 at the Pocomo River Canoe Company. And whereas the mission and the efforts of the volunteers behind this most worthy organization should be promoted everywhere in our community as a strong and valuable opportunity to enhance and even save the lives of our most precious resource, our children. Now, therefore, I, Janet T. Simpson, Mayor of Snow Hill, Maryland, do hereby recognize Jesse's Paddle and the Jesse Clump Suicide Awareness and Prevention Program as our Citizen Spotlight for February. And to call upon all residents of the greater Snow Hill community to support the good work of this amazing community organization, born of tragedy but thriving today through the love and the goodwill of a caring community. Presented this 10th day of February 2026, attested by Rick Pollock and Janet Simpson, Mayor. So I present these to you.
And it was, principal, right? Yeah, so yeah, in the middle.
Okay, guys, we didn't need to switch. Where's Shannon? Okay.
Turn your shoulder.
Thanks again. So glad you guys keep on. Okay. All right, I'll see you next week. I'll see you next week. Okay, let's go on to number 5, approval of minutes. Let's take December 9th work session and December 9th regular meeting. Councilperson Fletcher was absent, so I just need a motion from one of you to approve those minutes
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
of December 9th. And a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
They're passed. Let's go to the next 3 minutes, 4 minutes, January 6th, work session and closed session, January 13th, public hearing, January 13th, regular meeting, and January 20th, public hearing. Do we have any corrections? They've already been sent.
I think.
You sent corrections? Okay, I'd like to, have a motion to approve those 4 minutes with corrections by Councilperson Fletcher.
I make a motion to approve them with
Yeah.
correction.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Number 6, PKS audit report by Mr. Ryan Taylor and Mr. Andrew Haney. Mr. Pollitt, do you want to introduce them?
Actually, I think I'd like to ask our finance manager, Linnell Hampstead, as she has worked tirelessly, as have our auditor friends over quite a few months now to get our books. I will, because I can't help but steal the spotlight on this. We have once again received an outstanding report and review of the way we're handling town finances. And I just can't wait to hear all the details, but Linnell can introduce her team. But I can share right now that we've got another excellent report.
We have our table that we can speak from.
You just want to, we can sit there, we can just.
Do you want to sit?
Yeah, we'll just sit.
Okay, whatever you're
Yeah, we'll
feeling
just
like.
sit there. We're good.
We'll have to do it later too.
Mr. Andrew Haney.
Haney.
Mr. Ryan Taylor. And the finance team here is Melissa Kemper, Ron Lewis, and myself.
Thanks, Linnell, and thanks, Rick, for, welcome. As, it's on the agenda, we're here to present the June 30th, 2025 financial statements. Just present a summary of the statements. I'm going to go through the reports that Rick already, discussed, a bit, but just give some details of the reports. And then Ryan's going to go through some of the highlights as far as the numbers for the time for the year, and then we'll take any comments or questions that the council or mayor or anybody may have. Just want to share with the council that we've previously discussed in a lot more thorough detail with Rick and the mayor, the details of the bond reports that now was provided tonight. And just something that's a little different. I'll explain the reasons why this year. I actually have 2 bond reports of financial information, but I'll discuss that in a second. So, as Rick said, first and foremost, the very first section of the bond reports includes our independent auditor's report. We issued what's called an unmodified auditor's opinion. That's the highest opinion that we can issue as independent auditors of your financial statement. You know, it's basically a clean opinion. That's, again, that's the highest opinion we can offer on your financial statements. That's what the town is seeking for. Within this package, there's some other reports. One is the government audit and standards report. For that, you also have an unmodified opinion. There's a little bit of difference between the independent auditor's report and the government standards report. Kind of the difference is the independent auditor's report basically says there's no material differences in the numbers we received when we started the audit, and we didn't find any material inconsistencies. So, you know, it could be that through our audit procedures, we may have not discovered something that was not material, you know, like $100 difference or something. The government audit standard report is a little more strict. Basically, the questions on that report we have to answer are more yes or no questions that the town's either doing this right or they're not doing it right. There's no black and white or gray area. I should say it's just black and white. There's no gray area. Again, you receive the unmodified opinion on that, so that's great because it's a much harder standard that you have to meet. So with that, I'm going to jump to the other report, and The other report is the report for the uniform guidance. Typically, we include this in your normal financial statement report. We were unable to do that this year because this is the audit of any federal grants that the town receives or a nonprofit receives. And each year, the federal government and each of the granting agencies put together a list of steps that you have to follow as auditors to make sure are being complied with. Unfortunately, the government didn't actually update the steps until I think it was the day before Thanksgiving, which is really late. So we had basically done the audit procedures as we had in the prior years because we kind of knew what the procedures were going to be, but we didn't have the official documentation in case there was any changes. So that kind of held things up a little bit, and it also caused us to have to put together a whole separate report versus putting it in the full report because the financial report had a earlier due date, and we wanted to make sure due dates were met and not get hung up by a delay that was caused by the government. With that report, again, because it's a single audit and it's related to government grants, there's a really strict procedures you have to follow. And we're happy to report with your federal grants that we had no issues, no findings. The findings could either be a level of material weakness, a significant deficiency, or just financial statements findings also at the same level. We had none of those findings for the town of Snellville this year. So that covers your reports, and with a lot more words, I basically said exactly what Rick said, that it was a very good report, and that's a testament to your finance team, to all the work that they do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan to discuss some of the numbers. I think the content too, as he's discussing the numbers.
Okay.
I think in your handouts, you should have a financial highlights, just a short. So instead of going through the entire 60+ pages of the financials, we find it easier for purposes of this meeting to kind of look at some more key, key numbers and not go overly too in depth into, all of the, I guess, nuance that's in these financial statements. So on page 1 of this highlights, in front of you, we have a budget to actual comparison for the general fund, as well as a column for the prior year. So the general fund is the primary operating account of the town. It is primarily financed through taxes, intergovernmental revenues, also known as grants, as well as charges for our services. So just looking at the kind of budget to actual results for FY25, I guess first looking at them compared to 24, we did see an increase in general fund revenues of about 154,000. So general fund revenues were about 3.7 million for FY25 compared to about 3.6 million for FY24. And then as far as the budget, revenues were actually $25,000 over budget, which is a good thing. And then on the expense side of the thing, we have these expenses kind of broken down by the department. So we have these pretty general categories of general government, public safety, public works, parks, recreation, and culture, as well as the smaller categories for debt service and capital outlay. So looking at the expenses compared to 2024, we did see an overall increase of about 261,000. So expenses for 25, just under 3.5 mil for 3.5 million for FY24, just over 3.2 million. And looking at the budget, the expenses actually came in pretty significantly under budget. So the budget for the expenses was about 3.9 million. So this ended up being about $400,000 under budget. So you kind of look at the ending result of that. The net revenues over expenditures was about 280,000. Then we have this section called other financing sources. These are some kind of more miscellaneous kind of one-off items. So anytime you would sell these are, I guess the most typical items that you'll see here will be gain or loss on sale of assets, any proceeds from long-term debt issued, as well as any transfers, in between funds. So I guess one of the big changes we're seeing this year is there was actually a transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund, which I'll kind of talk about in a minute here, of $871,000. This is largely due to, because at the end of FY '24, the fund balance of the capital projects fund was only $20,000. So it did need to be supplemented by that large, general fund transfer. So because of this, the actual, change in fund balance for the general fund was a decrease of $592,000, largely due to this transfer.
The transfer was precipitated between the establishment of the capital projects fund in 2021, I believe it was established. And just a few details behind that. You know, it's probably a good thing that you do have this capital projects fund, because a lot of smaller sized towns actually just run all this capital projects through their general operations, and because of that, it creates a huge burden on general operations. With how the town of Snow Hill is handling it with this other capital projects fund, you're able to dig into more details of what is actually needed on some of these capital projects that are general fund items. Capital projects at the general fund are things like streets, for example, sidewalks, the general things. We'll talk about some of the other capital items once we get into the actual proprietary funds, which are other funds, but just the general town things that aren't related to, you know, water, sewer, et cetera. Those we'll talk about. But just want to point out, even though that is a big number and it did create a negative in the general operations this year, it's important to plan for that because they're large expenditures.
Yeah, and that fund was kind of set up back in 21 when the town first got the first draw of ARPA. So, you know, kind of with that, we kind of needed to drop all of that separately and, you know, kind of start to, you know, handle all these grant funded capital projects separately from the actual general fund. So kind of looking at the total fund balance for the general fund, it sits at 1.46 million. There is a breakout of that kind of in the middle of the page there. So there's an organization called the Government Finance Officers Association, also known as the GFOA. They typically recommend that, you know, any sort of city, town, or municipality has at least 60 days of operating expenses in their fund balance. And I took a look at where town of Snow Hill is sitting at. It's currently at about 5 months, so pretty well above where that kind of minimum threshold is. So that's something that we definitely like to see. And then at the bottom of this page here, we do have a condensed recap of the capital projects fund. So of course, the only revenue we're really seeing here is grants. There was about 250,000 of grants which ran through the capital projects fund. The majority of this was ARPA funding. There was also some county grants. There was I think one of them was a Bank Street grant. There was $100,000 from the county going toward Bank Street, as well as a state grant through DHG. Then we also had some similar to how the expenditures are, you know, broken out with the general fund. The same with the capital projects fund. They're kind of, you know, by the department. So we have it listed there. The total expenditures about $557,000. So then looking at the net revenues under expenses, we actually had a deficit, which is pretty typical with these kind of capital projects funds because they need that constant, you know, support. So, you know, when you consider that with that transfer in of $871,000, we actually had an increase in fund balance with capital projects fund of $566,000. So at the end of FY '25, the capital projects fund has a fund balance of $586,000.
And we should point out on here, just because it's not that clear on here. The reporting here, the fund reporting, it's kind of same type of reporting as a normal business or nonprofit would see. So while it's looking like we transferred a lot of money from the general fund to just prop up the fund balance in the capital projects fund, the part that's not taken into consideration are the principal payments on debt that are related to those capital projects. On the government-wide statements, that's all recognized on the statements, but on these fund statements, that's just a basic balance sheet item. So you would only see those payments when you're looking at the assets and liabilities and the payments being made on those debts. So while it looks a little odd just looking at this statement, you have to look at the big picture and understanding that there's principal payments in addition to the interest payments related to those capital project debts.
So on the next page here, we have a graph kind of showing, looking at the governmental fund balances. So this is the general fund, the special revenue fund, and the capital projects fund. Again, the governmental funds outside of the general fund, they kind of can't stand on their own. They kind of require that constant support. So we're kind of looking at them in total for the total fund balance. So you can see the breakout here. So the green, which is obviously the largest category, this is your unassigned fund balance. And we also have the assigned fund balance, in purple, which is for the capital projects fund. And then there is a restricted fund, which is the special revenue fund. This is the HUD revolving fund. And then actually new this year, we do have a committed fund balance, which this relates to a prior year surplus, which is a more so budget item, which has to be recognized as a committed fund balance. So overall, looking at it from 24 to 25, there was actually a slight decrease of about 43,000 in total governmental fund balances. And then again, we think it helps to look at kind of these graphs and kind of see how things shape out. So looking at the general fund revenues by source. So again, the primary funding of the general fund is these property taxes, these other taxes, which is mainly local income tax, as well as these intergovernmental revenues or grants, as well as these charges for services, fines, forfeitures, and other revenue. So again, as I previously stated, saw an increase from FY25 or FY24 to 164,000. And overall, looking at the amounts are pretty consistent, really nothing that's jumping out too much. The majority of the increase from FY24 is largely due to these property taxes as well as local income taxes. And then I guess to kind of speak on some of these kind of categories means there is a pretty large charge for services for other funds. A few years ago, it was set up that the general fund would pay the payroll for the water and sewer fund. So because of that, there is essentially what is an interfund. So the general fund charges the water and sewer fund, and then the water and sewer fund essentially has that expense back. So it's essentially just a wash, but it does have to be shown here. And then again, just some other items. We have the fines and forfeitures. This is largely speed camera fees, so we did see a slight uptick in that compared to 24. So that went from 62,000 to about 77,000 25. And then on the other side of things, looking at the expense, so we can see that by far the two biggest categories are general government, public safety, and public works. And this is pretty consistent with most cities and towns. In looking at what's kind of changed from FY24, almost everything has increased with the exception of capital outlay and parks, rec, and culture. A lot of this has to do with salaries. It's something we're seeing kind of everywhere. It's a constant thing. Salaries, as well as any payroll related benefits, we're seeing increases pretty much across the board. So in the general government category, we saw about $109,000 increase there. Public safety, this is largely the police department. We saw about a $57,000 increase there. And the same with public works, it sat at about $56,000 increase. And those are all just the payroll related increases that we saw from FY24.
One thing we should point out with the salaries and the salary increase. So town of Snow Hill and actually every government entity were hit with a new liability that needed to be recognized on your books. It's related to a GASB called GASB 101. You'll see details of it in the main report of the financial statements. But for you guys that have been around for a little while, you may remember something like 5 years ago, government standards required you to recognize a pension liability. And that pension liability was just the number calculated by an actuary that represents what they think a town would have to pay out, assuming certain life expectancy, et cetera, which was above in every case the amount that you actually pay into the pensions each year, which is also calculated by an actuary. So they came up with a similar thing related to sick leave. Doesn't matter if you actually pay somebody for sick leave or not, if they were to leave your employment. What the standard says is there's a liability that every town should recognize because your employees are going to take sick time at some point in the future. So again, they went to the actuaries. They said, so what is the average amount of sick time an average employee for a city may take over their employment? And then they kind of calculated that out to the future. So you have a new liability and a new expense that's required to be on your financial statements. It wasn't as severe of an impact as when the pension calculation came into being, but it is still an impact and caused an increased expense to have to be recognized. So I don't want to say it's not a real liability, but essentially it's kind of an expense that's just dictated to you. And like I said, it's every government. So I did want to point that out, that if you were just to look at salary down to expenses, it may not line up with what you expected because we had to recognize this.
Wow. Right.
And now to take a look at the proprietary funds, also known as the enterprise funds of the towns, the water and sewer funds. Just to kind of talk about the difference between the enterprise funds and the governmental funds. The idea was behind the enterprise funds that they should be able to operate similar to a business and kind of stand on their own without any support of the actual general fund. So essentially the idea with these funds is that the charges for services should be set at a rate that can cover any operating expenses. And the theory is any profit that they make, it's transferred to the general fund. That doesn't always happen. And it is still good that, these funds, these separate funds have their own fund balance so that they're not constantly at very low amounts. But that's kind of the distinction of these funds from the funds that we just previously talked about. So looking at the water fund, we did see a slight decrease in operating revenues. This is largely down to a decreasing consumption that we noted compared to FY24. So there was a decrease of about 51,000. Then on the expense side, again, we see that there's a pretty sizable increase in personnel services or payroll costs, as we kind of already stated on that front. So total operating expenses, 670,000. So looking at the operating income or loss, we're actually showing an operating loss this year of about 141,000. But then we did to kind of some of these non-operating items. So we have things like interest revenue, interest expense, as well as capital grants. So when you take into account some of these items, the most significant being capital grants of 191,000. This is largely state grants, which are funding the Purnell Street project. So when you kind of consider those items with the operating revenues and expenses, we actually look at a net increase in that position of 72,000 for the water funds.
And while it's good that at the end of the day it was an increase with the water and sewer fund, you really should be paying close attention to the operating income loss and kind of take those grants out of the equation, because typically grant funding is spent dollar for dollar. So they're just kind of in and out. So, you know, the operating income or loss is really the thing to be looking at, especially when it comes to looking at rates, and cost of providing these services. With that, I'll point out one of the expenses we have to recognize, of course, is depreciation, which is a non-cash expense. That said, depreciation kind of is a placeholder to cover what may be expected to replace some of those long-term assets that you have put into service, you know, sewer lines, water lines, you know, things in the water sewer plant, things like that. So, you know, you'll see that there was $98,000 in depreciation, which isn't cash coming out of your pocket. But think of it this way: if there was to have to be a repair in the sewer department, that $98,000 probably wouldn't touch some of the repairs, depending on what it is, you know, what type of repair it is, unfortunately. So that's why, you know, we always caution people, don't just back out depreciation because it's not cash. It's there to represent an actual cost that could be for you guys. And so the cost of replacing water and sewer, unfortunately, is astronomical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that increase in net position, the water fund sits at a total net position of about 1.66 million, and the vast majority of this is invested in your capital assets. That's kind of something you'll see with both the water and sewer funds. So on the sewer fund side of things, looking at the operating revenues, we actually saw an increase. So FY24 operating revenues sat at about 859,000 compared to FY25, which sat at about 986,000. And on the operating expense side of things, again, some fluctuation, pretty consistent with last year. So FY24 expenses for the sewer fund are 1.71 million. Compared to 1.75 million, so just a slight increase there. But, you know, because of the significant expenses, we actually do show an operating loss of 763,000 for the sewer fund. But again, as we said previously, we have these significant amount of capital grants. This is where you're going to see the majority of the ARPA funding. So there was 1.1 million of these capital grants, about 800,000 relates to ARPA. Then there was some other state funding for the Market Street SLEED, which sat at about 340,000. And then also there was some interest expense. So taking all that into consideration, we do have an increase in that position of the sewer fund of 445,000.
And it moved that position to a positive. So that's again, as I said, the with the water, the operating income or loss is the thing to really look at. And, you know, I think you could look at just about any town your size and you'll see if they have a sewer department, that's where operations really are general analysis. So it's not something that's just specific to the town of Snowville. I think this is something you would see consistently talking to other municipalities in this area around your size. So just, you know.
So at the end of the day, the total net position of the sewer fund sits at just below 12.8 million. And again, 12.1 million is invested in your capital assets. And so the last thing I wanted to go over was the American Rescue Plan Act, or the ARPA funding, which the town received back in 2021. So the town received just over 2 million in funding. They received the first 1 million, I think, in 21, and the next million, I think, in 22. And so that's kind of being spent out as the years have gone on. And any unspent funds have kind of been held, held in what's called a deferred revenue. So, as we expend the funds, when we actually recognize that ARPA revenue. So this, and as we've said previously, the single audit was required this year because of the significant amount of ARPA spending. So there is a threshold of $750,000 of federal funds which need to be expended in order for a town to need this separate audit. So this was the year that we actually did need that because there was a significant amount spent, just over 860,000. And so kind of the main things that we're seeing it spent on this past year, is wastewater treatment plant as well as Cornell Street. That kind of makes up the bulk of it. So at the beginning of the year, we had about 1.2 million of kind of unspent ARPA funds. So we're taking into consideration this 860,000 that we spent in FY25. That leaves the town with 428,000 of unspent funds, which needs to be paid by the end of the next calendar year.
With assuming there's not any other major federal grants, that $420,000 would not trigger a single audit because the single audit threshold actually jumps from 750,000 this year to $1 million next year. So
Okay.
that's the new threshold. So,
And I don't think in the past, 5 to 7 years that there hasn't really been many federal grants. The town is largely funded by state and county grants. So unless there's some random huge federal grant that comes in, I don't really foresee a single audit being. So.
Takes care of our
It takes care of
presentation.
it?
Yeah, takes care of our presentation. It went a little long, but, it's.
Well, thank you for the detail. Yes,
The detail to understand.
yes, I understand, full picture. For the,
Thank you for the good news.
yes, good news, very good news. Council, any questions? Any questions?
And if there's any questions after the fact, just for the mayor, if we're looking out. We'll take care of it.
Okay,
All right.
all
I
right,
guess
thank you.
one thing to know. Sorry, real quickly. So I know that we said that the financials are very long, 60+ pages, but if there is a section to maybe look at on your time, right after the auditor's report, starting on page 4, is the management's discussion and analysis. It's kind of a more condensed view of the financials. I think it's about 10 pages long, and it kind of just talks about some key variances, fund by fund, as well as some more narrative on some of the town's plans going forward, and things like that. I think it's a lot easier than looking through all 60 pages. So I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah, and it does have narrative, so
Yeah.
helps.
Helps with the explanation.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you. And at this time, I think we need to recognize our finance department. And we have Linnell Hampstead is our finance manager. And you want to just, everybody know Linnell? Wait. And Teron Lewis is our accounts payable. And Melissa Kepner, our accounts receivable. And that is our department, and we'd like to get a picture of you. So if you would come up front, please. And we also like to thank our treasurer of our council, Councilperson Fletcher. So if we would like to come up front.
Getting the thing I do.
So,
Yes.
I have those can audit the federal funds, and that would be called that.
Yeah. So, would like to come forward, get a picture. Rick, you want to sign something? And the treasury can come through.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get it.
No, yeah.
Lou.
Yeah, so if you join us, please.
Yeah.
Come on. Appreciate all your help.
Perfect spot at the end there, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you spent the money on the gear, right?
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh, my.
All down.
That's true. Okay, thank you. Yes. Thank
Let's go to bed.
Yeah.
What do they look like?
I know.
Thanks again, guys. Okay, number 7, treasurer's report. Treasurer, you have some information for us?
Our ending balance for December 2025 was $3,879,639.88. And our ending balance for January is $3,786,610.44.
Now, do you have anything else to add to the treasurer's report, or?
The only thing I would add is we have the real estate tax for $318,000 is not in the bank. It's in we received it in January, but it hadn't hit the bank until February 2nd or 3rd.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Do you have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. Town manager's report.
Ma'am, I'd like to point out just a couple of things in my written report. One is a great segue from the presentation we just had. We are hard at work on next year's fiscal budget. The mayor is required by the charter to turn in a balanced budget to the town council on by the 4th Tuesday of March. So we've gotten an early start. We're working on it. This is what we've heard tonight, kind of gives us a big shot in the arm that gives us confidence that we know what we're doing. We've got the resources to apply the best we can to balance the competing needs of the community. And so we're very anxious to see that process through and then to have the discussion with the community as well as with the council with the budget that the mayor prepares. And then I also wanted to mention in my report, because it's a little out of the ordinary now. Some of you might remember the Summerfield project that was in town a number of years ago. That was for my time. We have received a new Summerfield annexation plan for about 167 acres, basically out in the same area off Market Street. So that is being reviewed now with the staff. We have a meeting with our county counterparts to talk about zoning and some of the issues that we need coordination or collaboration with between the town and the county on that. But we're at the very earliest stages of that. There will be plenty of opportunity for public input, public awareness of how that's working. We're still getting our process in place now, but that's something to look forward to. It's a greatly reduced project from what I understand was the original project several years ago. But nonetheless, it will involve single-family homes, multifamily, small commercial districts. So it's going to be quite the project, and I'm sure everyone's going to want to learn as much as we can about it.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Pollitt from council? All right, moving on, department reports, economic development. Ms. Bidders?
Yes, just a couple of things to highlight in my report. First and foremost, we had our letter of intent submitted for the Arts and Entertainment District. And I want to thank our artist community. We had great letters of support from artists, art businesses, entertainment businesses downtown. So we're moving ahead on the full designation, and we'll have a site visit next month. I also wanted to let everyone in the community know, business owners and community members alike, Downtown Snow Hill, which is our local nonprofit that helps to run our status as a Main Street community and aspiring community. We really are looking for anyone that wants to get involved on a variety of different committees, including promotion, design, organization, and economic vitality. And so please, if you're interested, just come and talk to me. We're looking for fresh energy and fresh faces to really make the town what you want it to be. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions.
Questions?
I can answer.
Good. Okay. Mr. Brandery, is he?
He is on a seminar outside of the area.
Okay.
Floodplain management all week.
Okay.
So we have his written report, so nothing to add to it.
Right, any questions? There's a pretty thorough report. Covering buildings, permits, Board of Appeals, Historic District Commission, and Planning Commission meetings. Any questions from council? Good, good. Okay. All right, Public Works, Mr. Barfield,
I have nothing to add, Mayor.
nothing to add? Questions for him? Person watch you about Randy. Okay. All right, water treatment plant, Mr. Will.
Bobby's not here, he's still out sick.
Okay.
I spoke with him before I came in, he said he didn't have anything.
Anything to add? Okay, any questions from council? Grants Administrator, Mr. Bissett.
I have nothing to add to the report. I just want to tell people to check out 110 West Green Street. We'll have a new business opening in March. Tentatively, the ribbon cutting is set for March 28th, but we'll have a new bookstore and an incredibly ugly building is being reborn. So, and that's thanks to the town and to downtown Snow Hill and contractors and everybody coming together, make this happen really quickly. And it's going to be awesome. So please check it out and buy books. We could all read a book, I'm sure.
Yeah. Saw it by this weekend and
It's looking great.
It looks great. Oh my gosh, it's impressive. Questions for Mr. Bissett? For grants? Yeah. Julia A. Purnell Museum, Tina Fusco.
I have one thing to add. We have a fundraiser going on. We'll have one every month. It's going to be a historic homes tour, a historic home in Snow Hill. Mr. Ed Phillips and Ruth are kindly going to be our first one, graciously offered to help us out with that. It's called History and Highballs. So it'll be some cocktails and a private tour. You can get your tickets by calling the museum. You can do credit, card, cash, whatever you want to do. So, and we're going to have one every month through May.
Oh, great. Sounds like fun. Questions, council? Okay, Chief McGee, Police Department.
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. That's good. Any questions for the chief? All right, Fire Department. Chief Quillen. No. Any questions that you need to give to Mr. Pollock to contact Chief Quillen at all? Okay, and Snow Hill High School. I see you, Savannah. Okay, works.
All right, I have the February school update.
Okay.
As winter settles in and we begin the second semester, Snow Hill High School is filled with renewed energy, focus, and enthusiasm. Even in these colder months, our students and staff continue to shine through their achievements, leadership, and commitment to excellence. The momentum across our school is strong, and our Eagles are soaring into this new half of the year with both purpose and pride. Last week, we celebrated our incredible school counselors whose support, care, and daily guidance play an essential role in helping our students. Their work embodies the very best of our SOAR values: scholarship, ownership, achievement, and respect, and we are grateful for the positive impact they make on our school community. Academically, our students continue to demonstrate high levels of achievement. During the second quarter, 64% of our students earned honor roll, reflecting their dedication and strong learning culture present throughout the building. We recently held dual enrollment information sessions today to help students explore opportunities to earn college credit while still in high school, which I have used as well. Very helpful. Opening doors to future academic and career pathways. Course scheduling for the 2026-2027 school year begins tomorrow and will continue throughout the month as counselors meet individually with students to support thoughtful academic planning. We are also hosting a scholarship application workday on February 18th to give students structured time and support to complete their applications. Outreach to our incoming students is underway as well, with 8th grade parent night scheduled for February 24th, followed by 8th grade scheduling at Snow Hill Middle School on February 25th. Meanwhile, our seniors continue to prepare for life after high school by submitting scholarship applications, celebrating college acceptances, and meeting with armed services recruiters as they explore their post-secondary plans. Athletics continue to bring excitement to our campus, and we are proud to announce the 2025 class of the Snow Hill High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Miss Dennis Purnell, Miss Myra Sturgis, and Miss Terrence Palmer. We look forward to honoring them during our Hall of Fame game on February 20th and again at the Hall of Fame banquet on February 28th. Winter sports are moving into postseason competition and our athletes are performing at outstanding levels. Indoor track will compete at the state championship on February 17th at the PG Sports Complex. Following standout performances at regionals, where Ali Suarez-Abacheche won both the 1 mile and 2 mile events, and Miles Martin captured the regional title in men's shotput. Our co-ed wrestling team finished third in the region with an impressive 13-5 record and will host the 1A East quarterfinals tonight. Both our boys and girls basketball teams continue strong playing as they enter the final stretch of their regular seasons. Additionally, our unified strength and conditioning team will represent Snow Hill at the state meet on February 17th at the Worcester County Rec Center. We are also proud to share that Session 2 of our after-school academy is officially underway and off to a strong start. This session is serving 109 students, nearly 30% of our entire school, which speaks to both student interest and the value of these enrichment opportunities. Our programming is diverse and engaging, with students participating in athletic skills development, Dungeons and Dragons, social media club, math help, academic support, and a fully enrolled driver's education course made possible through the MSBE grant. These extended learning experiences strengthen academic skills, build confidence, and help students connect with peers beyond the traditional school day. We are grateful to the staff members who devote their time, expertise, and enthusiasm to making this academy possible. Snow Hill High School is proud of the incredible work happening across academics, athletics, and student activities. We thank the Snow Hill Town Council and the entire community for your ongoing support of our students and staff. Together, we will continue to help every eagle grow, achieve, and soar.
Oh, yeah, good. Thank you, Savannah. All right, moving to unfinished business. We have an ordinance number 2026-1 declaring the homestead property tax credit for fiscal year 2026-2027. Attorney Alworth, do you want to?
Yes, this is for second reading. It's an amendment in addition to your code, section 170-12, homestead tax credit pursuant to section 9105 of the tax property article of the annotated code of Maryland. The homestead property tax credit percentage for the town of Snow Hill, effective for the taxable year beginning July 1, 2026, and subsequent years shall be 103, quote, 3% cap. You discussed this at a work session and you had the first reading.
Okay, any discussion on that at all? Okay, I need a motion to accept ordinance 2026-1 on the second reading.
Make a motion to accept ordinance 26-1 on the second reading.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the ordinance is passed, 2026-1 on the second reading. Okay. Okay, we have B, we have a charter amendment, resolution 2025-8 for the annexation of properties along Coburn Lane. Attorney Howard, do you wanna explain that a little bit?
Yes.
Remind us all of that.
Yep, as everybody recalls, it relates to school properties in town and other properties, so it is to annex into the town of Snow Hill, a certain area of land consisting of 46.26 acres, more or less contiguous to and binding upon the south and southwest corporate limits of the town of Snow Hill, bounded on the east and southeast by tax map 201 parcel 710, the south by tax map 63 parcel 21, west by Maryland Route 394 Market Street, and north by a portion of tax map 201 parcel 1708. The properties are specifically tax map 63 parcel 177. That's the mayor and council's property related to the well. Then the other two properties are owned by the Board of Education. And then the fourth property is tax map 201 parcel 1711 lot 1, locally known as 410 Copper Lane by Donna and Charles Bowen. A very small portion of their lot was not in the town, the rest was, so they're in vicinity, so we're correcting that error at the same time. You held your public hearing earlier this month. And the other sort of aspects of it is it's ran through the county process. The zoning is going to be consistent. The project was sought specifically to get the Colburn Mall property in the town limits so we can see grant funding opportunities for it. The Board of Education consented to it, and the Bowens consented to the annexation. And this is your final adoption of the annexation resolution. The staff is going to have some administrative posting and various requirements after you pass the resolution tonight. But this is your final official act.
Visual act. Okay, any questions or discussion on that? All right, do I have a motion to accept resolution number 2025-8?
I make a motion to accept resolution 2025-8.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, resolution 2025-8 is approved. Okay, now we have comments from the public. People may register to speak up for up to 3 minutes, specifically discuss the item on the agenda, that decision regarding surplus public property for the old firehouse and acceptance of an offer to purchase as presented in the January 13th public hearing. This is under established protocols, so we want to make sure that we are making sure that everyone has a chance to speak and that we can hear and okay. Michaela Ames, do you wish to speak? No, okay. Dale Hendricks. If you would come to the podium and give your name and address or organization that you represent.
Good evening, Mayor, county members. My name is Dale Hendricks, and I reside at 3763 Village Trail, Snow Hill. I currently serve as president of downtown Snow Hill, which I'm proud to say has recently been awarded Maryland Main Street Aspiring Level designation. Our organization consists of a Main Street manager, board and committee members, and a large number of dedicated and hardworking volunteers. We are devoted to transforming the downtown business area into a vibrant and thriving community hub, Snow Hill residents, outside visitors. To achieve that goal, we need to fill every single commercial space with innovative businesses that will attract visitors and serve our local community. The town of Snow Hill is currently experiencing a revitalization effort that is long overdue. Vacant storefronts are being filled. The Bank Street Promenade project is coming along. Our library is being renovated, and several other large-scale projects are in the works. You can just feel the positive energy and momentum in the air. Everyone on the county and state level is pulling for us. These are indeed very exciting times. We currently have a buyer for the old firehouse who is willing to invest heavily in its renovation to bring it back to life as a premier event venue. This will bring visitors and overnight guests to our town, provide significant employment opportunities to our local residents. The town and several real estate agents have put a lot of time and effort to get us to this point. The vast majority of Snow Hill residents support the sale and cannot understand why there can be any resistance to it. Our organization joins the many residents in strongly urging the council to accept this offer. Please, don't put the brakes on our forward momentum. We need to build the old firehouse as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deborah Whalen. Yep.
Hey everyone, my name is Debbie Whalen and I am the person at the Opera the Firehouse. And I do apologize for not coming last month. There was some miscommunication, but I appreciate Clint for kind of speaking up for me. But I would have been there if I could have, but I just wanted to make a couple comments if possible. My team and my partners are still very committed to this project. We chat daily and weekly about fun things we can do with the community and how we can participate and help in this rejuvenation process. I personally am not a stranger to small town rejuvenation, so we're tickled. Unfortunately, we are a little discouraged because of the process that has been going on. Obviously, I've never purchased a property from a town. So this has all been new to my team, myself, and I thank Clint and his team and my personal real estate agents because they have gone hardcore and I really appreciate it. I want to tremendously thank the community for the support that we've seen online. We're just overwhelmed by the wonderful things that the community has said. So hopefully your council will take our offer into consideration and we can move on to the next step of the process in making this fabulous firehouse alive and cool again. That's it. Thanks.
Mandy Gladden.
Mayor and council members, thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. My name is Mandy Gladden. I'm the Executive Director for the Snow Hill Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm here on behalf of the Snow Hill Area Chamber of Commerce on also our members, but also someone who truly loves this town and believes in its future. We all know the old firehouse is one of the most recognizable buildings in downtown Snow Hill. It's surrounded by businesses and spaces that make this community very special. I'm often quoted by out-of-town people when they come to our events that this place is like a Hallmark. But we all know that the old firehouse for over a year now has sat vacant, unused, deteriorating, and still funded by the taxpayers. And right now, as we just heard, we have a real opportunity in front of us. A serious and well-established buyer, and I've checked her out, wants to purchase the firehouse and turn it into a community event venue, something downtown Snow Hill genuinely wants and needs. And imagine what this could mean for the town. If a wedding is held here, guests will come from all over, from out of town. They'll shop in our stores for gifts. They'll host rehearsal dinners and gather at restaurants and bars. They'll stay in our B&Bs and Airbnbs. They'll visit the salon, barbers, bakeries, coffee shops, grocery store, gas stations, photographers. The economic ripple effects touch nearly every small business that we have here. The Chamber of Commerce will always support business growth that strengthens our community. And this is exactly the kind of investment that we hope to see. Even the chamber would love to rent the old firehouse for events instead of renting an event tent. We want to keep those dollars local and reinvest them back in the town of Snow Hill. I spoke last time with hope, but tonight I'm speaking with urgency. We are sitting on the cusp of losing this incredible opportunity, one that brings people into Snow Hill and money into Snow Hill. When someone is ready to invest in our town, partner with our community, and activate a vacant building, we should be doing everything we can to make that happen. So we have to ask ourselves, should we continue holding on to a deteriorating taxpayer-funded building, hoping that the grass will be greener on the other side with some other offer? Or should we allow it to become something that helps generate activity, pride, and revenue for Snow Hill? I'd like to close with a quote from Dr. Seuss that feels especially meaningful tonight, so bear with me. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Let's step forward and invest in the future of Snow Hill. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Jane Kane. I live at 119 West Martin Street. I strongly support the sale of the old firehouse. I want to free the town and the town taxpayers from the burden of this building. We are continuing to pay to keep this old firehouse in Snow Hill. Snow Hill will never be able to pay to have this building restored. Please don't let Ms. Whalen and her group leave us. We need this for our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe Cecily?
Before I speak of the fire thing, my name is Mimi Sistovic. I'm at 401 West Federal Street, Snow Hill. Randy, I'd like to thank you and your workers for the town and what you did to have our town prepared for the show. That you did a great job. I left early last month because I was so disgusted with what I heard from our council and what went on in this room. Councilman Lumpkin, I've talked to you, I've seen you in the streets during the month since then, and have seen some really good things, and I think you support the plans to sell the firehouse to somebody who's worthy to do something. Ms. Fletcher, I'm sorry, I thought you felt you were somewhat confused on what you wanted to have done. And I would have liked to have heard more of what your reasoning was for the sale. Councilman Lee, I went and I looked at your campaign materials, and you talked about a vision for Snow Hill's future. And you talked about transparency. And you talked about making things happen economically, bringing business to this town, finding jobs for the people that live here. And that's not what you said to us last month. I'm truly and honestly disappointed. What you said in your material for your campaign is totally different. I want a strong town vision for a better Snow Hill. That's not what you said last month. I hope you will change your decision. Thank you.
Peaceful.
Good evening, everyone. Chase Phillips, 116 Ironshire Street, Snow Hill. I do volunteer downtown in a lot of ways, but I want to be clear that tonight I'm only speaking in my capacity as a resident. I fully support the sale of the firehouse, and I believe that failing to do so would be financially irresponsible and a historic mistake. Failing to sell the property would be counterproductive to the endless hours your own constituents are committing in making a revitalized downtown. And more so, it would mean rejecting the dire need a revenue and investment to support the essential services of all of our residents. I believe that economic growth is needed from a fiscal standpoint, and I urge you to accept the offer and give a new chapter to this historic building. I would consider myself fairly liberal when it comes to how governments can leverage public property and public use of these buildings. I would love to see it into some sort of community center, but that sort of concept is, for me personally, is just completely unrealistic. There's no way that the town can make that investment on their own. So again, please accept the offer.
Thank you for letting the public speak and offer our support again. Ian Coates, I live at 103 North Church Street. At the hearing we had in January, I spoke about the advantages of having an arts and entertainment district. Coincidentally, we were at the point, as Ms. Davis said, in having to reapply for our designation. And that's a very important designation for us to maintain and continue. And I have to say, if this is not voted on in a positive way, it'll be really a black eye to the town, especially at this point we're trying to reestablish or keep the established arts and entertainment district, which provides incentives for people to come invest in the community. And if we don't do this, if the firehouse slips through our fingers, we're going to look like we don't even want to have a district that's designated. So please use that as a consideration, and I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Tina, is it?
Trina?
Yeah.
Trina?
You're
You're good. Okay. All right, good. Okay, Carol Jenkins.
Good evening, council and mayor, of course, and to everyone here. What a wonderful turnout. My name is Carol Jenkins Pike. I live at 207 West Martin Street. I've lived in Snow Hill for 15 years, and I've lived all over the world, but I love Snow Hill, and I want to see it thrive. So I'll come back to that in just a moment. I have used the old firehouse for yoga classes more recently until it closed. I would love to see the community events and the venue happen. So Ms. Whalen, hopefully we can all use it too. Thank you. So it's not, so we can use it as a community too. And I would like to see the arts community thrive. I was part of the Christmas carols and other events that we had at the old firehouse. I would love to see them revived somehow again, because we haven't got a venue. Everyone's smiling, so you know what I mean. Anyway, and also some of my elderly students of mine, my yoga students, remember the firehouse because they had their 16th birthday parties there. So it's part of the town. It's part of the heritage here. So I'm just here to say, please, I'm supporting the sale of the firehouse, and let's help Snow Hill now.
I have several other letters that have been sent to me. Carrie, did you want to come up and do your own, or you want me to? Sure. I don't want to take, yeah. Here's this. I'm sorry.
I'm Carrie Bunting. I live at 307 West Market Street. This was an email that I sent to the mayor and town council a couple of days ago. I have lived in Snow Hill for 5 years, and I adore this town, my neighbors, and the prospect of making our home an even better place to live, work, and visit. I'm also on the Worcester County Tourism Advisory Board and have had many years in the economic development field. Empty buildings are antithetical to the creation of and sustainability of a thriving town. And a town that owns several empty buildings is a waste of residents' tax money. Understand that we all have ideas on what would be the perfect buyer or use for these buildings, but we must be realistic and pragmatic. If there's a potential buyer for one of the town's many empty tax wasting buildings with a legal and sound business idea, we cannot simply disregard it because it's not our dream buyer. You, as elected by the town's residents, speaking to the council, need to focus on the here and now and the deal on the table. To agree to sell and on the price, then refuse actual offers by saying you now want more money is absurd and standing in the way of progress, not to mention shows businesses that this town is not a place they want to move. Snow Hill owns Willow Street, the old train station, the PNC building, the old firehouse, and gosh knows what else that are simply draining our already limited resources. This town council needs to focus on filling these spaces to entice other investors, provide more and varied experiences for visitors, and stop wasting our tax money. So many of your constituents are fuming over the lack of cooperation, earnest discussion, and the utter inaction your council exhibits consistently. We also want more than just 3 representatives so that 2 cannot halt all progress as a way of getting their way, whatever that is, as you fail to say what you want, but loudly express what you don't. Full disclosure, I have looked into the process of recalling council members as well as petitioning to put an issue to referendum, as I anticipate either total inaction or 2/3 voting against increasing the number of council members. Your constituents are done watching people elected into position refusing to vote and turning down viable ways to enhance our town. May you realize these sentiments are in the majority, packed room, and that you will be removed from office should you not start actually governing to the benefit of this town.
Ryan Logan.
Who's on page 4? You're already up to me.
Yes, I am. We're rolling.
I was gonna say my script, but I think I'm gonna go off script. So this building's been sitting empty for 13 months, 10 days. But before that, all of us who have been using it for 20 years now know that it's been in trouble for years and years and years. The roof's been leaking for 2 decades. So I've heard a lot of conversations because I'm right in the middle of town at Snow Hill Toys. I'm a meeting place for a lot of people who walk in who say, we could do this. We should do this. I think sometime out in the future, this thing is going to happen. Well, I can tell you, as the person who's been managing, trying to get Goodman's back after almost 20 years of being derelict and deteriorating and empty, that these are hard projects to do. They're long, they're expensive, they take dedication, and nobody who said these things has stepped up to run this project. I expected an outpouring of people to form a committee, do the hard work, make it happen, and it didn't. So if this doesn't go through, I think we're done. It's on us. It is back on us. So you better all step up because that's going to be our only choice. Rita Williams. Rita, ours is going up.
My name is Rita Williams. I live at 207 Commerce Street, Snow Hill, Maryland, 21863. First of all, since we don't have the money to fix it up, I agree with selling it. And I think once that sale sign comes off of here, it should go on the bank building and then on around to the rest of them. But my main reason for coming here is you, Mr. Lumpkins. I do not think you're an elected official. I do not think you should be putting accusations on Facebook. You're an elected official. You are part of a company in Annapolis. And if you've got proof of what you're saying, so all you have to do is call them. They will come down here and get it all straight. And if that proof, if they agree with that proof, they will let them leave right then, or they'll give them a chance to resign. And if you listen around, that's going on right now. Okay?
Yep.
That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita. Okay, I have a couple other emails that were sent to me. Okay, this one from Susan Dry, 207 Walnut Street, Snow Hill, Maryland. She said, I'm 100% for immediate sale of the firehouse. It sits there getting older and more worn out, doing nothing for Snow Hill other than being an empty building. I understand we have a qualified interested buyer. Selling the firehouse immediately speeds up new business in town, bringing people here who may not have never visited our beautiful town. Those people will shop downtown, utilize the river for boating, canoeing, and kayaking, may even become home buyers here once they see this little gem on the Pocomoke. I understand that 2 council members have refused to cast a vote one way or the other on this sale. If they have reservations, express to them and show why this selling the firehouse is not a good idea for Snow Hill. It is unacceptable for an elected council member to refuse to vote on an issue that affects every one of their community. I certainly will not vote to re-elect my council representative who has refused to explain his position. We need to move forward, not stagnant like we have for years. That's the end of that. I also have Reverend Stephanie Crossland of Presbyterian Church, who lives right next door. She lives at the church's manse at 101 West Market. And she said, please be aware that I'm blessed to serve as pastor with McKimmy's congregation. This email comes from me alone and does not necessarily represent the thoughts or feelings of the members of McKimmy Church. A major part of what drew me to answer the call with McKimmy was the search committee, the very real feeling of community in the vibrant, beautiful downtown district. My first Advent and Christmas season here in Snow Hill was magical, particularly with the Christmas tree lighting and the Rotary-sponsored Christmas market. I soon found out that we would no longer be able to host events out of the firehouse due to its major repair and update needs. I was excited to see that there was a buyer for the historic firehouse property, one who is able to bring the building up to code and back to good use in Snow Hill. What a great opportunity for us. And then she goes on to, I fully support the town selling this property at the price that was offered by Delmarva area businesswoman with 30 years of business. I believe in the best interest of the town of Snow Hill, the downtown Snow Hill Main Street business, arts and entertainment district, and our community to move forward with this sale from this buyer and to engage in a new future together. Madam Mayor and members of the council, I thank you for your time and the opportunity to share my thoughts. One more, and Chelsea, I read yours last time, so do you want to come up?
Sure. I'll read
Okay, you want to come up then? Because she had a letter she sent to me. I have it on my email. Just go ahead and bring it up. I'll read another one while you're getting it done.
Here it is, if you want to see mine.
Yeah. Got it?
Starting out here. I'm Chelsea Reminds of 106 West Green Street. I am tax and buying and serve as the president of the Chamber of Commerce with me. So I'll just read my letter. Running as a resident and business owner who cares deeply about the future of downtown Snow Hill. I encourage you to vote in favor of selling the firehouse. The proposed buyer's vision aligns with the town's goals of bringing business, investment, and people into our downtown. Leaving the building vacant will only lead to further deterioration and increased costs for the town. Those of us investing in Snow Hill are working to fill downtown, not discourage potential buyers and business owners. I respectfully ask that you all put your personal agendas aside and do what's best for the long-term growth of Snow Hill.
Okay, thank you. Aaron Freeman. I am writing regarding the potential. She is an owner of Treasure It Photography. And finally settling on North Washington Street, where I bought the beautiful building I have been renting for several years. As a business owner in town, I'd be ecstatic to see the town grow and become a place that draws visitors and other businesses for residents to enjoy. I love our town and neighbors, and I believe we deserve the conveniences and charm that come with a downtown. The possibility of the firehouse becoming an event and meeting space would bring new customers for existing businesses and hopefully draw new businesses to fill the empty spaces that make Snow Hill sometimes look like a ghost town. The town has the possibility to be known as a one-stop event. We have flowers, bakery, salon, photography, catering, and a gorgeous B&Bs all within blocks of one another. The more consumers we have visiting to utilize our services, the better chance we have of retail shops opening. It is very difficult for a retail shop to succeed in a small town with outside foot traffic. We deserve to have a bustling and successful town. We deserve for the gorgeous historic buildings to be restored, appreciated, and used instead of sitting empty for years at a time, all the while passing on potential buyers, potential growth. Help our businesses prosper, create jobs for our residents, and show that you believe this town deserves the opportunity to thrive. Chase is already spoken. And I have one more, Carrie, please. Okay, one more. Jordan Bohol. Doesn't have his address. Is that, that's okay? Where does he live? Washington Street. This letter is intended to be read at tonight's town meeting regarding the sale of the Snow Hill Firehouse. I strongly urge the mayor and town council to move forward with selling this building. Nearly every business on Green Street is active and contributing to our local economy, yet the firehouse remains vacant. Why are we allowing a prominent building in the center of the town to sit empty and deteriorate? The town does not have the money to fix it. It will take close to $1 million to rehabilitate the firehouse and make it operational. That is not a realistic or responsible expense for Snow Hill. Meanwhile, there are buyers willing to invest their own money, restore the building, open it to the public, and generate revenue for our town. That should be welcome, not obstructive. I was frankly disgusted by the discussion at the last meeting, the suggestion to raise the asking price by $50,000. Well, after the property was already listed as absurd, the price was publicly set. The offer on the table represents roughly 92% of that asking price, which is more than fair considering the massive investment required to rehabilitate the building. Changing terms after the fact damages credibility and encourages future investment. Agreements matter. The town is fed up with this board's inability to communicate clearly or reach a resolution on the firehouse. Prolonged indecision benefits no one. Sell the building, put it back into use, let it contribute to the momentum already happening on Green Street instead of remaining a symbol of inaction. Respectfully, Jordan Bohol. Okay. All right. That's all. Do you have another one?
Jake Larson.
Jake Larson. Do you want to read that?
Miss Fletcher, my name is Jake Larson. I live at 303 North Washington Street, residing in your district. I'm reaching out to you today to encourage you to vote in favor of selling the firehouse. I strongly believe that since this property is no longer housing town resources, fire station, police station, and so on, that does not make sense for the town to continue to possess, maintain, and spend money on. Furthermore, this property is vacant and at a key location within the town that it should be utilized for some purpose other than an empty building. Snow Hill's downtown struggles with vacant buildings and lack of business. If we have a buyer and investor willing to purchase this building and bring life back to it, I see this as a huge opportunity for the town that will benefit all of its residents. A new business, more money for the town, and less burden on the town for managing the property are all positive things that everyone can benefit from. The alternate is a town owning a vacant building at prime location that we all watch slowly degrade away and fall into decline while the old town continues to dump money into it with no benefit. I hope you will hear the voices of the town residents and vote to sell the firehouse. Thank you, Jake.
Jake Larson, okay, thank you. Anybody else have letters that they want to read at this time? At all? No? Is there anybody I missed that's here that sent me an email? Okay. All right. Any other discussion from council? All right. We have a motion. Do we have a motion?
I wanna.
You
I
want
have something.
You have something? Okay, go ahead.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank all the inputs from concerned business owners and Snow Hill residents. Since the last meeting, there have been false statements made about the decisions from council members. Let me be clear and transparent about my decision. As I stated at the January 13th meeting, that I was for selling the property, but think it should sell at a higher price. Yes, stated $325,000 to $375,000. But due to talking in the background, it wasn't heard clearly. The firehouse is in disrepair, but could be repaired and brought to code by the potential owner. Checking selling prices and properties within town and other municipalities, the price seemed to be lower compared to some other buildings. Not knowing what conditions they are in lead me towards a decision. I want everyone to know that my decision wasn't coordinated with anyone to block a sale or leverage against the mayor, so therefore it raises no concern to the Open Meetings Act. The misuse of the words block, dismiss, unmoved by assertion is questionable. It is okay for anyone to voice their concerns, but false information and accusations are not. And I'll leave it. And my, it's not from the pressure of the people, but checking selling prices and consulting with my daddy. I will let you know in a minute for my decisions.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Lee?
I want to acknowledge the compelling concerns that each of you who spoke and those of you who are here, and I'm going to assume are here in support of selling the fire station. Assumption I share that since we have gotten into the personalities and calling and talking specifics, and I want to address my motivation and why I'm sitting here and why I'm taking the position that I've taken. After some 30-some years of sitting here in Snow Hill, being a part of this community, working for the betterment of this community and the inclusion of all of this community, I saw something happen in 2010 that I thought was going to make a difference in Snow Hill. And that was the 2010 comprehensive plan. And what I saw take place, ladies and gentlemen, was that comprehensive plan was abandoned and replaced in 2015. I ran recognizing that the comprehensive plan again was coming up in 2025 to be renewed. And I did not want to see a repeat of what happened in 2020. One of the speakers related to my campaign and what was the platform that I ran on is that I ran on diversity and inclusion, making Snow Hill what I've always believed it is and should be. That's what I ran on. And I'm glad that those who are here who can understand and see where I have been on those issues. The issue for Snow Hill is about stability and growth. It must grow. We must get development into Snow Hill. Whether it's said or is not said, there are a large number of people in Snow Hill that do not want to see that happen. Demonstrated, it has not. I think for economic development to take place, and what is taking place with the economic development downtown project is tremendous. Those of you who have followed this know that I took opposition to certain legislation at a time in that 2015, 2025 redevelopment process program. I rejected it. I didn't reject the downtown growth. I didn't reject the growth of Snow Hill. What I rejected was the way that it was being done and how it was being moved. And I stood. And I'm going to stand. I want to be very, very clear. I'm not running away from position. I'm going to be respectful of the positions that each of you have spoken, each of you have written to me. But I believe for Snow Hill to thrive and to be what we want it to be, it cannot fall or rest on the sale of one building. The firehouse is a strategic centerpiece for Snow Hill. It is around as we look at planning and development. The piece that makes, it doesn't necessarily say, I'm going to strike that. It doesn't make the difference. It's very important, extremely important. The town manager mentioned tonight of something else that was in my campaign. And I said that I would move and work toward bringing development to Snow Hill. We had a meeting today, earlier, about another proposal, which I abstained from. And I have since abstained from any discussion about the
Closed session information. And Mr. Lee, I wouldn't disclose anything we talked about in closed session earlier.
I'm not going over anything. I'm not going over anything that was discussed in this closed session. I've also written a letter where I am going to abstain from whatever takes place going forward with the Summerfield project. Because I want to be very clear. It is not about the innuendo that I hear, personal agenda. My agenda is Snow Hill, the growth of Snow Hill, the town, the county seat, and us working together to make it what we want it to be. I got a simple agenda. My agenda is Snow Hill. So I think that regarding the question of where we are on the issue tonight, you will hear my response at the proper time.
Councilperson Lumpkins, anything else you want to say?
Yes.
Take a vote.
I feel like, Debbie Whalen's offer is the best value for the town. The longer period of time. We need that. We need traffic. I feel like as a council person, we have an obligation to our business community downtown to give them every opportunity to succeed. And foot traffic in front of the business is a good opportunity to help them succeed. Otherwise, the only other big plan we have for this building, this is just let it fall into more disrepair. We'll just end up 20 years, we'll be bulldozing this thing to the ground.
Don't you have an offer on the table for $375?
No, sir. No, sir. No, you're out of order.
Order.
Sorry.
Kicked out.
No, I didn't kick you out.
I will. But basically, this is down to stewardship or just let it decline and fall into decay. And it's a pretty simple concept to me, because I agree with Mr. Lee. I'm all for growth, but we're not going to hit the home run all the time. We need to focus on small, sustainable growth. And we're not in a financial position where we can turn away any kind of mechanism for growth and to increase the coffers of our town. So I am hugely in favor of accepting Debbie Whalen's offer. I think it's great. I'm really excited about the energy it's bringing to the town. Thank you.
No. I want to say, something in closing. I want to commend.
You had your turn.
Hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
I want to commend, and I did this last night also. Last night there was a planning commission meeting. And I want to encourage you, the citizens who are here tonight, pay attention to that planning commission. Pay attention to those meetings. Last night, I witnessed for the first time, the very first time that I can really say that I saw our commissions working together with the staff and the community. And the work that's being done, with the planning commission on this comprehensive plan, in my opinion, is going to make the difference in terms of what we want Snow Hill to be going forward. It's not going to satisfy the sale that's taking place now or that we're discussing, but it's going to set the groundwork and lay the groundwork for where we are going in Snow Hill. And it's going to, I believe, provide the path forward for those who want to see Snow Hill progress in a lateral manner that is inclusive and in a dynamic way. I believe that's going to happen. That's what I've been working for. So, to be clear, I just want to state this again, if I may. And I decided not to write a speech. I'll just give where I see it. We always say it's a speech anyway. Okay. I rest.
Councilperson Lumpkins, any other final?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't necessarily see the sale of the firehouse tied to the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is a nice municipal exercise to get everybody's input for the direction in which we want to go in the town. However, in the previous 8 years, that building was only rented 3 times. So the logic that it would somehow magically become a cornerstone just doesn't make sense to me, and I think we really can't miss this opportunity.
Do you have any questions on that? You want? Okay. All right, we're ready for a vote. Do I have a motion to accept the decision regarding the surplus public property of the old firehouse, acceptance of an offer to purchase as presented in the January 13th, 2026 public hearing.
And Mayor, if I might add, whoever makes a motion one way or other, if it is in favor of disposition, it should say that's no longer needed for public use and declare it surplus.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to sell the surplus obsolete firehouse property.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
I yield to sustain.
Abstain? And the reason why is what you explained before? Okay, all right.
I didn't want to read it whenever. I'm going to say my last sentence. My decision is to sell the property, not from the pressure of the people, but from checking selling prices and consulting with my dad.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion is approved.
I would say, as mayor, that this is the way democracy works, and your voice has been heard tonight. And I commend all of you for taking part. I love you being here. I want you here from now on also. But thank you so much for all your hard work. Now we have some new business. We'll go through quickly. I have to administer an oath of a new officer. Yeah, Chandler Officer Diet. I hope I say that correctly. It's DYOTT, so it's Diet. Diet, yes. And I have an oath here. You thought I had? Okay, okay. Well, so here it is. Okay, are you ready? Okay, we got our officers here, the chief and Officer Brown. I'm glad you're here. Okay, raise your right hand. I, and say your name,
I, Chandler Diet,
do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Do swear that I will support
do swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland,
to the state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution
and support the Constitution
and laws thereof,
and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill
to the best of my skill
and judgment,
and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality and
prejudice, execute the office
execute the office
of the police department
of the police department
for the town of Snow Hill,
for the town of Snow Hill,
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and the laws of the state.
and the laws of this state.
And this has been sworn to me the 10th day of February, 2026. So thank you and congratulations. We're glad you're here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Watch that stop sign.
Yeah.
Okay?
You good?
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now approval of our alcohol license applications. Mr. Odenhall, you wanna?
This is just so we can get all the alcohol licenses for the summer, or all of our events.
So I need a motion to accept the alcohol license applications
For life prices and
for
down.
Life Crisis in downtown Snow Hill.
I make a motion to accept the alcohol licenses for downtown Snow Hill,
Do I? Sorry, go ahead.
and the prices, like prices.
Life Crisis, okay. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're done. That's, the motion has been carried there. And comments from the public, we already had. Is there any other additional? Okay.
May I come back?
Have you signed up in the back?
No, I signed up for the first time. I have a statement about the alcohol.
The alcohol?
Yes, we've had the problem.
You want to come up? Just
I mean,
state your
we've had
name.
the problem before with events, that they will have an event down, like, that's the Bird Park.
Okay.
And up on Green Street. And they will not let us carry alcohol from one place to the other. We need to get that clarified with the, board of license commissioners, that we can do that, but we're having one event. Berlin does it. They actually have an understanding with the alcohol commissioners board that they are having events all over town. And so the alcohol does not stop at a line, which does, we've had it. And I inquired about it and was told that we really just need to go and get it clarified that if we have a townwide event, that they can go down Bank Street to Sturgis Park and come back up to Green Street. Just a clarification, I think, is something we need to find out how to do that, because it's a bit of a confusing issue that people have to stop and can't go forward.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you. All right, comments from the council? Mr. Lake? Mr. Lumpkins?
Good.
Ms. Fletcher?
I'm good.
Okay.
All
All right, comments for me, I think we're done, okay? I think we've had, it's 9 o'clock, so.
Enough fun.
I've had enough fun. Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Meeting's adjourned.